Are you ready?
Starting now?
Now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
But
you're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And we just tried to start the recording, and it said something about active broadcast problem, refresh, and it knocked me the fuck out. So this is our second run. Again, we haven't had problems with this in a while. Not that was a huge problem, but just odd-ish. But it is episode 80.
It is.
We do not have a guest tonight, so
we do not.
You fuckers have to put up with us and us only. But I think we have a lot to talk about. But
and I'm glad to see you started off by saying the F word as much as possible, because that drove me fucking nuts the other night.
Hey, you're still sounding kind of a little bit like far away-ish.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm right up on the bitch.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So maybe it's just it'll all record fine. It'll all come out. But yeah. So what Mike was talking about, we recorded with actually some really nice folks, Julie and Steve from Through the Glass podcast, Through the Glass Recovery podcast. We posted about it. If you didn't see the Instagram post, make sure you check them out. Check them out on Instagram. They're on Facebook, obviously everywhere. Same as us. The podcasts are heard, but they do more of a panel type of discussion. And the way that started out was, I went to get in, and it was Zoom, and I use Zoom on another computer, so I had a little bit of it had to update, so it took me a minute. I was still on time, but.
I think I was 3 minutes late.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by the time when I was trying to log in, it was like 5:02. So I mean, it was I had that 5 minutes, but yeah, it could have been. But either way, so let's go with I was late, because I don't remember. And once again, I think I said this a handful of episodes ago. I have no desire to argue with you, and I have nothing to back it up. So let's go with I was late.
And that's why you're my friend.
Well, it's not fucking worth it. And I don't mean that to you.
I know.
I mean, there's just so many more things
in
more
general.
Important. Yeah. I mean, so what am I going to fucking do? Argue with you about, 3 minutes, whether it's true or not, But again, that's the point. I don't know. So, I mean, it's plausible. So I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
So we start recording, and it's like a panel discussion, so a little bit different, And so it's Mike and I, and then one other lady, and then Julie and Steve. So obviously, this whole little group, and we're going through, and they're asking questions a little bit about. We're talking about stress and this and that, and then Mike and, I mean, I just figured, I'm like, I'll just, unless somebody else drops one, I'm one of them, I'm not gonna swear,
right?
So Mike gets up there, and he's like, and blah blah blah, and then he's like, I don't fucking care, because I don't want to fucking do it anyhow. And then he's like, hey, are we allowed to swear on here?
I kind of felt the oxygen fall out of the virtual room. I was like, wait a minute. I just dropped like 4 F-bombs in a row. Fuck, man. Is this okay?
Yeah, and I think you only hit 2 before you asked about it. But it was funny, because I did, in anyone out there that's, most of us have been on a Zoom call before. So the video is up so we can see everyone, but there's still, the only one you can really see clearly is the person speaking, and then the other ones.
Right.
So as he drops the second F-bomb, I'm like squinting in trying to see what the look on people's faces are. And I'm sitting there like virtually covered in my mouth go, oh.
Uh-huh.
But they did a post on Facebook and said, yeah, we got to record with these guys. And I said, yeah, we had a fucking great time. But, I blocked out I put little stars
Uh-huh.
like where the U and the C would be, but he laughed at it. But yeah, it was just kind of funny. But yeah, fuck it, man. We can fucking swear as much as we
the
fucking
fuck we want on this.
Right. So a couple of things real quick, because I know that this is one of the first times that we've hit the first of the month on a day we're recording. So
Right.
obviously we can do the reading, we can do the step, because we've got guests for the next 3 weeks after this. We have Gary, the gentleman that reached out to us a month or so ago.
Mhm.
So he's going to be on. Then Katie, my son's girlfriend, and then
Right.
Carly and Breeze are going to be on after that. And then that'll take us through. There's 1 week and last week of September that it's just going to be us. Oh, just so you know, I'm trying to hit Heidi up to be on here. So
Ah.
yeah, she had texted me about something the other day, and I'm like, hey, by the way.
Right.
So she was supposed to check on scheduling and stuff like that, and haven't got back to me. But she said she would. She just had to check on how her schedule would be. But yeah, so
Right.
I'm like, fucking everyone knows you anyhow. We talk about you enough, so might as well get on here and actually tell the story.
Yeah.
So all right. So the reading. Shall we get that fucker out of the way now?
Let's get that fucker out of the way now.
Let's do that.
All right. Of course, it's always from God Grant Me, because it is my favorite meditation book. And I was flipping through. There's a couple actually that jumped out this week, but I thought I'd go back. It's one of my dog-eared ones. And yeah, so here it is. August 21st. Progress, not perfection. Alcoholics Anonymous slogan. We don't expect our lives to be perfect. We don't expect ourselves to be perfect. We just want to stop the insanity of addiction and begin to live lives that make sense. We don't expect to be perfect, but most of us do want to be good. We can actually live up to that goal now that we're sober. It takes a lot of work, and we're always seeing new ways to improve. Working the steps helps us learn a great deal about how we can be better people. Having the love and support of our recovery friends and the guidance of our sponsor gives us the strength and help we need. In fact, the work of being a good person brings us many rewards. We invite spiritual teachers into our lives, make true friends, we gain respect for ourselves, and we find that others respect us too. Prayer for the day. Higher power, help me see today how I can pitch in to make things better in some ways at work, at home, or for someone who needs a little bit of kindness. Today's action, because this is a program of action. What's one thing I'm willing to do in the next 24 hours to bring a bit of goodness to a situation? Call a friend who needs support, bring flowers to work to brighten the day, take time to really visit with a child. I will make a decision to do one special thing and do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we talked about obviously progress. Progress, not perfection. Plenty of times, and
right.
I think it is. I mean, it's a slogan of, and it says AA. I mean, is that just a recovery one, or is that like from the Big Book? Or I'm asking.
Well, I
mean,
don't know. It's in the Big Book. We seek progress, not perfection.
Oh yeah, spiritual progress, not spiritual perfection. Okay, gotcha.
Right. But it's been shortened down, and it's kind of a slogan now in that shortened form. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine some of the other groups use it too.
Right.
It's kind of universal.
Well, and it's funny now that you mentioned that. And I don't remember when it was. It was in the last month, maybe 2 months, that I saw something like that on Instagram about that, saying that the term progress, not perfection, is not in the Big Book, but it's a shortened up. Which then I thought about. I'm like, that's kind of funny because I didn't think about that, because everyone just says progress, not perfection. It's like, us saying not today, just one of these shortened up type of things. But so, I mean, and I think anyone that's been around the recovery community, number one, probably knows about that. But and I believe I've shared this before, but I looked at that as is a loophole
Of course.
to begin with. Which again, like you said, I'm glad you said it. Of course I did,
Of course. Well, I
because
did too.
well, it's one of those things where, well, I this goes back to when I didn't want to be there anyhow, and I was just kind of going
Hmm.
through the motions. I didn't realize that I was basically walking through this thing as a, it's kind of a dry drunk basically for the first 9 months.
Hmm.
Um, but and in my mind, I'm like, ooh, that gives me, that alcoholic thinking. It's this.
Sure.
I've got my excuse to fail because I'm not expected to be
Uh-huh.
perfect.
Uh-huh.
And I forgot about the progress part.
Right.
I forgot about the part that we're supposed to be striving for
Uh-huh.
perfection
Right.
and making progress along the
Uh-huh.
way.
Exactly. Progressing.
Yeah,
Yes, we're never going to be perfect, but we need to be progressing. Right.
right. Well, and that goes back to even we leads and discussion groups and all those different things. When the old sayings where if you're not moving, either you're moving away from a drink or towards a drink. There's
Right.
nothing about standing still. Back to the escalator thing. Walking up
Hmm.
a down escalator. If you stop, you're going to go backwards.
Right.
So all this stuff lines up, but yeah, the next thing that I wrote down was, and I think the sentence read, "Most of us want to be good." I just wrote down "want
Hmm.
to be good," but
Right.
and and again, over time, right?
Right.
Because I don't think I walked into those gates being like, "Okay, here I am.
Right.
Now I'm going to be good."
I'm going to be a good boy now.
But the next thing that I made a note on was good. Obviously, good things are doing good gets rewards. The whole
Hmm.
do good, get good, which
Right.
once again, we start to figure that out. I think again, inadvertently, it's like we start to do good things and then good shit happens to us. We're like, wait a second,
Hmm.
where did all this
Hey.
stuff come from? Yeah, hey. And then the action was bring goodness to someone. So I mean, those are
Hmm.
like the little points that I wrote down. But
Right.
um, I mean, is that, I don't know. Do you? I think I know the answer to this, but I mean, I'm going to ask it anyhow. Do you think about this on a daily basis? That okay, I know if I do good, I'm going to get good. I want to
Mm.
get out and I want to do something good for somebody, and I know that plays into your everyday thoughts. But do you actually have to tell yourself that anymore, or does it just happen?
I mean, it kind of just happens, and I have to be, have to be careful with that as an alcoholic, uh, because I will expect good things to happen. I'm doing the right thing, man. Shit better be good. And when it doesn't happen, because it starts off by saying life's not perfect, bad shit is going to happen still. Um, then I'll form a resentment. Well, fuck, I did the right thing, and the control and all that. I did
Right.
the right thing. Why aren't you fucking reacting the right way?
Hmm.
Um, right. So I've got to again be careful with those expectations. But no, I don't consciously. There's definitely situations where my first reaction, as we talked about on the podcast on Tuesday,
She
right?
went bombed on
My
it.
right, my first reaction is "fuck you." Um, I don't care about you. Fuck you. Get away from me. Fuck off. Fuck you. Um, but yeah, so I have to stop myself and realize in the situation I need to do the next right thing. And sometimes, yes, sometimes I do have to consciously think about it because it is not my nature to do that.
Right.
But like everything else, the more I do it, the more it becomes natural, the better I am at it. And yeah, it's not certainly not how I had to do it in the first year or two or three or four. It is easier. It is more my natural reaction to do something good. But yeah, I still got to work on it because I haven't hit that perfection yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, that's what I said. I kind of figured that, but I'm glad you went into obviously a more detailed explanation, because that was kind of the point of it. Because I
Hmm.
mean, we can't sit back here and think that everyone, um, everyone's like, oh yeah, we handle this stuff fine, so you do too, right? So let's not talk about
Right.
this. But no, I mean, and I suppose part of my my prayers and stuff like that, and reminding
Mm-hmm.
myself that I'm powerless. And I was just kind of
Right.
thinking about it as you were talking. So I don't really, set out and say, okay, today I need to be good. I need to not
Mm.
fuck with people. If I do good things, I should get rewards, but I can't expect them.
Right.
But you're right that when you're talking about the rewards and stuff like that, it made me think about, and I don't remember well, I probably haven't talked about it on here. So, I mean, I talked about it briefly when I started doing the whole broke off and did the whole coaching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of as a recap for everyone else, I sat down and I ended up talking to Mike, and I talked to our sister, and my guidelines with this was, okay, I hate my job, I'm gonna quit. That needed to happen anyhow.
Right.
And even the again, the lack of physical reactions, like lack of heartburn and stuff like that,
Mm.
that still blows my fucking mind. And I still don't get it. I'll get it every once in a while if I just spice up stuff too much, but that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
um, so that had to happen. But the goal was, okay, so hit this stuff hard for a couple of months, which that's gone, come and gone. And
Mm.
then in that last 30 days, if not, start looking for something else, which I am. So the thing there is that I don't have to give up on the idea of coaching. A lot of that
Right.
stuff can be done at night, can be done on the side. Plus I've been working with this whole other group of people in this collaboration. So we built this whole group now of 9 people that have collaborated together, of the same purpose. So we've got this thing
Mm-hmm.
going.
Mm-hmm.
And again, nothing is really, it hasn't cost a lot of, it's been time and it's been effort, but not a lot of
Sure.
money involved or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. But the whole point with this is that, now that I'm out there, and I'm going to not sideline this a little bit, but put it into a different compartment over here for a minute,
Right.
and then look for something else, because I obviously I got bills to pay.
Right.
um, but it's it it's not happening quickly. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it is, but it isn't. I'm getting
Sure.
opportunities, but I haven't had interviews. And I mean, it's not one of those things where I did 2 clicks on 2 jobs and got a job right away.
Right.
I know I'm employable, but there's certain things I'm looking for. I want to work remote, and there's some criteria in there,
Right.
but I'm starting to loosen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll even go back to, sitting on a phone and being a collector. I mean, I don't care. I know I can make money doing it. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say can't. I could, but I don't want to
Mm.
go back to managing people, because I think that's where
Right.
my stress came from.
Mm-hmm.
But at night, when I kind of do my recap, my 10 step, for the last probably at least week, I'm back to, it's fuck, man, it's your will, not mine, type of thing.
Right.
And meaning it's my higher powers will. And I've gone through job searches, on a number of occasions during the time that we've been sober.
Uh-huh.
And every single time, I expect shit to happen quick. Why not, man?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at
Right.
me.
Right.
Look
Kind
at
of a
these.
big deal.
Look at these electronic pieces of paper.
Uh-huh.
Look at all the shit I've done, man.
Right.
Which all of that's true, okay, but none of it fucking matters,
Mm.
So I've got to go back to I'm back to basics now, which is
Right.
humbling,
Yeah.
and but the other thing too, everything that we talk about is I do have the faith. There's a mild anxiousness in there. It's not like a
Mm-hmm.
freaking out type of thing.
Right.
But I do have that faith and that hope that you talk about quite a bit, but that we've talked about, that shit's going to work itself out,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And like we've always said, man, there's the dogs.
Yeah. Kylie's home, so Bentley's here too. That's well, Bentley's got he's got that deepest bark. Even
Uh-huh.
Moxie,
Right.
and for everyone else, Moxie is the German Shepherd. Bentley is like a little pit bull something mix, little badass
Mix.
dog. He's
Right.
beautiful and a sweetheart, but he's got the bark of a huge dog.
Yes,
so.
he does.
But yeah, so that was Bentley.
Right. So, yeah. What the hell was I even? Fuck. I don't remember what I was talking about.
No, we were talking about everything's going to work out. The hope, the faith, and
Boy,
back to
yeah,
basics.
Yeah. I had some point to make, and it's completely gone now. So, thanks, Bentley.
if it comes back, as we always do, just pop in and interrupt.
Right. Yeah. Well, of course.
But it is. I mean, the thing of it is, it is kind of humbling though. But for me, that's not a bad thing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. The first job that I had, again, that factory job, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
our buddy Wes saying to me, he's like, I was telling him, I'm like, what a fucking bitch this job is, for the money. And he's like,
Right.
it's kind of humbling, isn't it? I'm like, fucking A, it is. And he goes, I didn't mean that in a bad way. I'm like, no, I know what you meant. And I'm like, it is. I
Right.
need this. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want it, but I really, really needed it. And I didn't realize how much I needed it,
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of that's probably where I was going, somewhere around there. Um, yeah, shit's gonna work out the way it's supposed to work out, and it's not probably gonna be the way we want it to work out, but that's okay too.
Right.
Because look at what our will got us.
Yeah. And the other thing is too is that I don't, and I've talked about this from almost from day one that we started doing this podcast. Which, by the way, as we mentioned, whatever it was, I think when we had last week, yeah, when we had Mike on,
Mhm.
we've been doing this now for a year and a half, and
Right.
18 months of this every single Friday. A couple of days that we've had to move it around, but we haven't
Mhm.
missed a week. It's a
Yeah.
commitment. It's all these different things. But really, really early on when we started this, I was talking about that. I don't need or even desire to have a title anymore.
Mhm.
I just don't. I don't want to manage people anymore because I my control issues are problematic when I'm having to manage people that don't do what the
Oh,
fuck they're
sure.
doing. I
Right.
have far less patience for it than I did 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that's age, and that's just a matter of what the fuck, dude? Don't you get this? Or man,
Mhm.
woman, whatever it is. But I don't need anything special. But I know what I want to do, and my goals in life are not very, they're not like huge or glamorous or anything
Mhm.
like that. I want to be able to travel around, and
Mhm.
and again, not to live this rich life. I want to be able to live, within the normal means that I would be if I was sitting someplace in stationary. But I just want
Right.
to do it in different places.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
still do. I mean, you got to make a certain amount of money to be able to do that,
Mhm.
just to be able to again live like I want to
Mhm.
live. So
Right.
that's the cool part is that I'm looking at it backwards. I'm not looking at it from a status type of thing. I'm looking at it from a necessity thing and building up.
Mhm.
Which
Right.
is or kind of backwards, I guess would be the better way to put it.
Yeah. Well, and I think because of working this programming and having a different outlook on life, and with that comes expectations, and God damn it, we just want to be fucking happy now, man.
Right.
We've
Hmm.
had enough misery.
Right.
Why would we want to continue any kind of I don't. I don't. I mean, I don't live wonderfully. I'm driving an 8-year-old car, and I live in a 104-year-old house, and but I'm happy.
Right.
I like the things I have. I'm comfortable. My relationships are great. Um, I I've got friends. I've got a girl. I've got and things are good, man. There's no strife. There's no conflict. I don't want any of that anymore. Yes, status doesn't fucking matter. I want happiness. And
Right.
of course, as we've talked about plenty of times, happiness is a byproduct of, back to the reading, doing the next right thing, doing good. We get good things. Yeah, I could be a fucking maniac. I have been most of my life. You know, I could be. Today was a wonderful example. I started off today. I didn't have a lot on my plate, and I thought I was going to be done early, and they threw a few more things on me, and that was fine. I was still going to be done reasonably early, and shit just kept getting in the way, and little stuff, and it wasn't anything major, it wasn't anything bad, it was just roadblocks that I had to navigate through the day that I wasn't expecting to have to deal with. And I could have fucking lost my mind over it. I could have just went, well, it is what it is, and I'll get through it. And I got home and ate my pizza, and now I'm doing a podcast,
Right.
and I got 3 days off, so woohoo.
I think the term you used several months ago was "let it whirl."
Yep.
Yeah. I almost forgot about that until you're like, "Is what is?" I'm like, "No, it's not. Let it whirl,
Now
man.
let
What's
them
wrong with you?
fucking
Let it
whirl.
whirl."
Now, right, and we did explain it, but I will go back. There's a AA pamphlet called Acceptance, And in it, I know, in it, there's a story of this Bedouin dude who's living out in the desert, and somebody, there's whirlwinds, dust devils all around, constantly in the desert. And somebody asks him, how can you live among all this chaos and these things just spinning all the time? And he's looked at him in his eyes and let him whirl. What am I going to fucking do? Yeah.
Right. Right.
I'm paraphrasing, but but yes, let them fucking whirl. Let the chaos spin around you, and don't be a part of it. Don't be involved with it. Don't fucking engage it. And it moves past eventually.
Yeah, and it is. It's just like everything that you just said. And first of all, your house is fucking cool. You've got a nice car. Just because it's X number of years old, my car is 11 years old, and
right.
I mean, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, what I like the newer ones. They don't make this model anymore, but they make a different model, which is fucking awesome. But you know what? It's also $50,000. I think.
Right.
I don't have that. Kids, we don't have that. Yeah, you know what? We're going to pay that with our podcast profits.
Right. I'll
that's
just
a
sit
joke.
here and wait for those checks to roll in.
Hang on one second. We because I want to talk about a couple of things real quick with the podcast in a second. We do have 50. Do I think we have 50? I thought we had $50. Oh yeah, we do. 56. We have $56, and that's I've never taken money out of our ad money. And yeah, $56.90. So that's I think that we've earned it a year and a half. Yeah. So
nice.
we're not getting rich, but hey, you know what? We are rich with the listeners. How's that?
Yeah, we are, and it brings enjoyment to us and to them. So what the fuck?
No, I know. I was just fucking around, but so seriously though, the reading I enjoyed it. I mean, that kind of that brought out more of a I don't know, more thoughts in my head, and certainly more of a discussion than. Well, who knows? We never know where the fuck this is going to go.
Never.
I mean, sometimes literally, I've got like a page and a half of these typed up notes, and I feel like I'm going to run out of shit. And other times, we barely touch on anything. But so anything more on that? Because I just wanted to just a couple of quick things on the podcast. But any more on the reading? You good?
No, I think we've covered it.
Okay. And I just came across this, and I think I mentioned this to you individually, but I look at and we used to obviously read our stats and stuff on here. We have no plans on ever doing that again, but this to begin with, it was fun just watching the growth and whatever, but this interests me because in the last 30 days, and I was just looking at our demographic, we still, it doesn't matter who's listening from where, but we have, it used to be like 60% of our listener base was like that 45 to 59. That's at like 37%. 32% of our listeners now in the last 30 days are in that 35 to 44 range.
Ooh, the kids.
And I know. And then this is the one that blows my mind. In the last 30 days, 18.9% is 18 to 22.
Wow.
I know, really? I mean, it's just that's the only reason I wanted to bring it up, because I get the same reaction that when I was listening to it, but looking at it. So
maybe we're not completely fucking doomed. Maybe the kids are listening to their elders again.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I would expect, because we're gonna have Katie on in a couple of weeks, and she's 20. Yeah, she's 22. Yeah, she's 22. Yeah, because Derek will be 23 in October. So we might pull in a bigger audience for that week. But again, this is the last 30 days. It kind of blew my mind. But the other thing too and I just wrote down like the ad impressions, because what this means is that people who are actually listening to the episodes, we had 323 ad impressions over the last 30 days. The reason I wanted to read that off is because if anyone's out there, we've been asking for advertisers.
We'd like to bump that up to $60.
Yeah. But so the age group, number one, and the number of impressions, again, the numbers don't lie. We couldn't hide it. I wouldn't try to hide it from somebody. But again, even though we're a small-ish podcast, those numbers are they're just interesting to me, for the the follower base and everything that we have, that it just kind of blew my mind. So that was a sidetrack, but it just advertisers, if you're out there, let's talk. We'll even, you know what, and I think I've said this openly. If somebody wants to test us out with a 30-second written or spoken ad, we'll do it for free for a couple of episodes for you. I don't care.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
would want somebody to be able to see if it works, and we put the website thing in the middle of it anyhow, because we've been testing all this stuff out. It can be done. So if anyone, seriously, if you're interested in just kind of, plug in whatever you're doing out there,
Right.
let us give it a shot and see what's up.
Cool.
All right, so got the reading, talked about nonsensical shit. Sorry about that. And step 9.
Well, I would hope they come to expect the nonsensical shit.
Right. I know. Well, we used to do more of that stuff in the beginning, but once again, I mean, Mike's busy. I'm busy. We talk about pretty much everything on here. It's funny. Sometimes when I'm listening back to the episode, I'm like, wait a second, we had talked about that. Or I'm like, oh shit, we talked about that while we were recording.
Right.
Sometimes I just kind of forget that the recording's on. But step 9, we should probably pop into that though, right?
Sure, right. It is the 1st of September, so
that it is.
Why the hell not?
Yeah. So you've got, I think, your big book there. Can you read that off?
Well, I don't have the big book, but
I
do have
your God grant me. I'm sorry.
I have that with me. The big book is downstairs in the library. But yes, step 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others.
Okay, so we've touched on this step literally, I mean, a lot, over the last however long, certainly over the last couple of months as we're leading into this, because
right.
I mean, really what it comes down to it is that, I mean, certainly 8 leads into 9, of course, but even talking about 6 and 7 and 4 and 5, I mean, we talk about these, obviously this amends step. Do you remember, and maybe there was a couple of things, and I don't remember you to specifically remember you, God. I don't expect you to remember exactly what you said, but you were leading into it last month talking about step 8, the fact that everything that you said, everyone you ever met in your life.
Right.
I think is where in the last episode we ended off with Mike fucking with everyone in his life. Everyone.
That's right. I took from and or hurt everyone that has ever come in contact with me. Yes.
So now you've got your list of fucking everybody.
Everyone.
I've got your list. Where is it? It's in my head. It's fucking everyone. I probably harmed that guy over there. So how did you go about starting to make amends to those folks?
Well, the step, I was thinking about this today, actually, because I knew we were going to talk about this. I do a little bit of preparation. And, yeah, it says make direct amends wherever possible. Quite a lot of people in my life, it's not possible. I a lot of geographics in my life, in my past, moved around a lot. So there's just a lot of people that were in my life that just aren't physically around me anymore. And certainly the last 5 years of my drinking, I really didn't interact. I interacted with as few people as possible.
Right.
Just because, they got in my way. And I was such a fucking mess. I couldn't even work well at, getting things from them anymore. Yeah, there are a lot of people that I cannot make those direct amends to. Lots of those people. Early on, when I first started working the 9th step, there were a few that I made direct amends to and that weren't really in my life, but I could have some sort of contact with them. My ex-wife was one of them. I went to the last real job that I had before I got sober and talked to the manager there for, 20 minutes or something. Just kind of talked to him. I was at that point year and a half, somewhere in there, sober. And yeah, those were kind of the direct ones that I could do, and they were sort of in the vicinity, but I wasn't really they weren't a part of my life anymore, and I certainly wasn't a part of their life anymore. And the rest of them, the people that were, like my daughter, right? I'm never going to be able to make up the things that I did to her. I know that.
Right.
All I can do is, my favorite phrase, which I learned later, was this thing called living amends, which is very important to me in my 9th step work. Because remember, kids, that 9th step never ends. We will never finish that 9th step. So the living amends, just staying sober, being available, being a solid person in those people's lives that we fucking hurt, that are still in our lives, that we're lucky enough to still have them in our lives. Just being a solid person in their life, that's that living amends. I'm never going to be able to make up for the shit, but I'm not going to inflict any more harm. It doesn't mean I'm going to get walked on either because of it, because of the guilt and the shame. I can't do that either, because that's fucked up too. Right. Not only to me, but to that other person. It really is. That let them take advantage of me. That's not going to happen either. I'm just going to be a good person and be there for them in ways that I can. And that's that living amends. And again, it's never going to fucking end, man. And it's okay. I accept that fact that I'm never going to finish that 9th step, and that's okay. I'm just going to continue to be a sober, solid, positive influence in their lives, and not that negative taker that I was for decades before that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my 9th step thing. I made a few direct amends where I could. I realized that lots of them are never going to get resolved, and that's okay too. And I'm going to continue to work that step. If an opportunity ever does come up where I can make a direct amends to someone, I will. I'm certainly willing to do that. I know that probably 75% of the shit that I need to make up for that I did is never going to happen. That's okay. Right. But I'm not going to add to it. I'm not going to add to that 8th step. That's a big part of working that 9th step too.
Well, and we had talked about that too, that we have to be, and it will, if anyone is, and whether or not you're in a 12-step program, all this stuff, there's going to be people that come along in your life that you fucked over, and that you're probably going to want to make things right with. Whether you want to call it a 9th step, if you're in recovery, or if you're in a 12-step program, that's cool, or not, it's going to happen. So that's what Mike was just talking about. We talked about it before, is that this never ends. There will be people that you run across, that we run across, and it's happened in the last 13 years, that you look at them and you see the person walking up, or down the street, or you see them at some place. And the cool part is we don't have to hide from them. That's number one.
Right.
And we have this obligation, that we want to actually, we're glad to be obligated, to walk up to them and say, hey, you know what? I owe you a conversation. And then that person becomes part of your 8th and 9th step immediately, and you take care of this shit. But, but yeah, that's the key though, the living amends and being obviously ready and prepared for any time, that anyone comes along that you might have to have that conversation with. So, you know what? Actually, taking a look, I didn't realize what time it was. Should we take a quick break, and then I can talk about mine if you want, or we can finish up on yours?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll work. All right. Well, we will come back and talk about some of the shit Bill did right after this word from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi there.
And, yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have 2 websites now. So
two.
2 websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. So, but from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, at least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And once again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome back. I tried not to laugh going out of that one, man. You motherfucker. But yeah.
Yes, I am.
Let's talk about everything that Bill did. Nah, that was absolutely perfect. I never know what you're going to say at these breaks, or even at the end.
Neither do I.
I know, and that's the fun part. You even surprise yourself. What was the other quick thing? When we were talking Tuesday when we did that recording with the other podcast, we're like, we'll see how it works out. We might have to, edit this, or saying the certain things don't edit out right. And like when she had said about the cell phone, which I get, people have their own things. I followed, obviously their rules, and I put my phone on silent and all that stuff. But so I'm like, yeah, we don't fucking edit anything. Not a damn thing. And I mean, there's a freedom to that, to be able to do that, because and it doesn't change anything that's ever come out of our mouths, but I think it's fun because people, what we've been told, we don't even have to guess. What we've been told by people is that people enjoy the fact that we don't edit, because it seems more, it is fucking real.
Right.
And they get to watch us fail.
Just it. Yeah. Right. And also, that's not the way we live our lives today. We don't edit shit anymore. We don't hide shit. We don't cut shit out. We take responsibility for everything we fucking do today.
Right. And yeah, when we try to get all slick when, we're, I don't know, when something cuts off and we come back in and we're like, oh yeah, by the way, we just lost power. I mean, nobody would have ever known that. I have the ability. We've got,
sure.
They're not expensive. The programs that I have to do all this shit, I can do some pretty high tech shit with this low price stuff that I have, so I can put lipstick all over this fucking pig, but we're not going to do that.
Right.
So, and like I said, I didn't mean to interrupt, obviously your events. I didn't know if you were done with that part of it.
Whatever. Kick in your shit.
Okay. So, and I know we had talked about, again, the 8-step sort of thing. Neither one of us wrote it down. You had this idea in your head about everybody. I just had this. I knew all the main people. Again, our mom, my sister, my kids, my ex-wives. I knew that I was going to end up having to talk to, Kathy's husband at the time, Mark. My cousin, aunts, uncles, all those sort of things. So I knew all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Immediate family is pretty easy. Right.
Yeah. And, other things, you try to make things right. If you owed somebody money or something happened or whatever the case is, all those things are involved in there, but we don't have to get into all the details. But the main thing that I did, and I don't remember, well, I had to have heard it from somebody, was told by somebody to, to try not to say the words, I'm sorry,
Right.
and, and it made sense to me because, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it was so hugely influential for me. When I was still drinking, my son's mom, Dawn, I all the time I'm fucking up and I'm doing this and I'm not doing anything right. And this is again while I was still drinking and we were together,
Right.
and whatever it was, I said I'm sorry, and she's like, you know what? She's like, the things you do, or she said, I always mess this up when I try to say it too quickly. She said,
Mm-hmm.
people say sorry if they spill your milk. She said the
Mm-hmm.
things that you do, you can't just say sorry for.
Right.
So again, at the time, active alcoholic, all those sort of
Mm-hmm.
things. What did I say? Well, fine, fuck you. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sorry,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm not going to say it then. But if you don't want to accept it, I'm not going to say I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, I missed the point.
Right.
And because after all
Right.
said and done, after I get sober, and I was young in this whole thing, probably only 3-4 months, I
Mm-hmm.
have this conversation with her. Thankfully, not me apologizing to her, but telling her how things are going and whatever. And she
Mm-hmm.
tells me flat out, she's like, this is your chance. You don't get a second chance. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
in my head, I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm watching people using this goddamn Keating Center as a revolving fucking door. I don't get a
Uh-huh.
second chance? Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, but I didn't say it for whatever reason. I didn't say anything like that. I don't know why, because I was still a dick.
Right.
But
Yeah, well, a little bit was rubbing off on you.
I know I was healed just a little bit. I had a Band-Aid that was still seeping, but it was a Band-Aid on it.
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
but she goes, I'm not. She goes, it's bad enough that that you've had to be away from your son for 3 months. She said, I'm not going to have that happen again. And she's like, I'm not going to let him watch you die. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, fuck me. Now that was a
Mm-hmm.
fuck me is like, I kind of get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I held on to that. And then
Right.
she and I had this, and I'm focusing on her because she was the big one. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
Kathy's husband at the time was kind of a big one too. But
Mm-hmm.
um, so we ended up when I was going to come back to Wisconsin. I had been back to Wisconsin in a couple years at that point, and I was going to go back, and I'm like, oh, I'm back there, whatever. And I'm first time back, and she's like, oh, and how we got into this conversation. All of a sudden, we're in an email. I'm doing my fucking 9-step, and I'm like, fuck me.
Mm-hmm.
But I went through it. We aired a lot of shit, and then at some point we had a conversation. Our relationship is building back up, and I said to her, I'm like, is there anything, any questions you want to ask, anything like that? I said, and this is the whole about not saying sorry thing, because to her,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in other people, I said the same thing. I'm like, I know what I did to you, and I know why you felt the way that you did, and
Mm-hmm.
all I can do is try not to repeat it and try to be a better person
Mm-hmm.
every day. That's all I can
Right.
do. I can't
Yep.
fix any of this, but just believe me, I know what I did, and I know why you
Mm-hmm.
felt that way, you know?
Right.
And the look on her face was just, it was kind of like bewilderment, but,
Mm-hmm.
but in a good way.
Right. Oh yeah.
and and she said, and this again, this is what you said. You've been talking about Amber.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I will never forget the things you did to me, but she said,
Right.
I forgive you. She said, I'll continue to forgive you if you keep doing
Mm.
what you're doing. If you don't,
Mm-hmm.
everything's done. All bets are off. Your son's gone. This and
Right.
that. She's like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." And I don't mean that in a bad way either.
No.
She was making it extremely clear that if
Mm-hmm.
this happens, you're fucked. You know?
Yep.
And to this day, you and I go to these extremes when we talk about it. If I drink, I'm dead because I lost
Right.
everything anyhow. One
Mm-hmm.
drink means to this day, I can still if I drank, I don't know. I mean, my son's not he's not a minor anymore. Okay,
Sure.
but all the disappointments, whatever. If I drink, I'm going to fuck everything up, and sooner or later, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
fuck it, drink myself to death, done.
Yep.
So um, those sort of things meant a lot to me. And
Mm-hmm.
to this day, I've told her that on a couple of occasions about some of these little things and how critical those were to me in how critical she's been in my recovery, whether she knows it or not. Even if she knows
Mm-hmm.
the extent of it, um,
Right.
it's she's been one of the biggest influences because she don't take any of my shit. I know it, um,
Hmm.
which is fucking beautiful because I put her through
Exactly.
fucking hell, and she's a wonderful person, you know.
Yep.
Um, but the other one, the thing with Kathy's, well, now ex-husband, but
Hmm.
Mark, we were at Jody and James's wedding, and
Hmm.
he and I had our things like right after I got sober. And there was a couple of things that happened probably over the times too, but the details don't matter. But um, we were at the wedding, and this was at the reception part of it. So, I'm like 2.5 years sober at this time, and I never had the chance to sit down and really have a conversation with him. I'm doing the living
Hmm.
amends, I'm being a better person, all these sort of things. We're talking, we're getting along, but whatever, it just happened, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? I said almost those same exact words to him. I said,
Hmm.
I know what I did, and I know why you reacted this particular way. I was talking about this one instance, but like, I
Sure.
understand all the different things I did. What he said? He looked at me and he said, that's all I ever wanted to hear. And at that
Hmm.
instant, everything was cool.
Right.
Never had another issue with him. Not
Hmm.
that we did, but I think both of us could still feel up to that point that there was still that little bit of tension.
Of
But
course.
so here's the lesson for anyone listening. That was a 2 or 3 minute conversation. And
Hmm.
I didn't try to put it off for 2.5 years. I didn't see him a lot, and when I
Hmm.
did, it was, we were in a groups and things like that. It wasn't like, hey, can I have a conversation with you?
Sure.
I think that's. Do you agree that that's the other part of it? You got to make it comfortable for the person too, right?
Oh God, yeah, right.
Okay,
Well, that's in there, man. You can't. Yeah, if it's gonna hurt them to make you feel better, kind of defeats the purpose of making an amends.
right.
You're not making an amends. You're gonna inflict more pain to make yourself feel better. you know yeah, it's I mean, the real common example of that is, like, if you cheated on your wife and she didn't know about it, and you get sober, and you go to your wife and you say, honey, I need to tell you this. I cheated on you a whole fucking bunch when I was drinking and using and being an asshole. I'm real sorry about that. It won't happen anymore. Yeah, no, that's to relieve your guilt,
Right.
and you're going to make her feel like shit. That's not what this is about. It's not about you. It's about the other person.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean, and on top of that, not just, fucking up your spouse, but also you could have the great potential of blowing up a whole other family, you know, with
right.
that too. Because
Yeah,
they're
right.
what if the other individual is also married, or what if even if they
Oh,
weren't,
right.
it's that whole ripple effect in this case being in the bad direction.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Did anybody, I mean, obviously your dad was a recovering alcoholic. Did he ever do any kind of night step shit with you?
Um, Formal, I don't remember.
Right.
And Kathy might. That might be a great question to ask her. Because
Hmm.
again, there was that 2 year difference. Obviously only with us, but there was certain things that I was so blind to at that time frame.
Right.
Like when they got divorced. I mean, I was like, shit, was I 8? She was
Hmm.
10, or maybe
Right.
7 and 9, roughly in that area. And there, you get to some of these age groups like that, and it's there's a big difference about
Mm-hmm.
what that comprehension.
Sure.
So I don't remember it, but I do remember when, I mean, all leading up to it. But then they got divorced when we were around 8. He got sober when I was 12, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and then we didn't see him for a good year and a half or 2 years, I
Right.
think. And he was getting his shit together. We knew that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we knew it at that point. Clearly, I was old enough to know what the deal was then. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when he came back into my life, he and I did a lot of stuff. He was probably more of definitely on the living amends side of
Mm-hmm.
things.
Sure.
And, I wouldn't talk about this openly if mom was still alive, but
Mm-hmm.
she resented the fact that when he came back into our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and I do understand why. He was a
Sure.
shitty individual to her for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he didn't pay child support even at that point. Owed back
Sure.
child support and all those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Our mom worked her ass off,
Right.
struggled to the point where, I mean, that brought her to tears at times, but we never knew. So
Right.
she was really good at taking care of us, but struggled.
Mm-hmm.
So but I didn't understand all of that,
Sure.
and so he's coming back into my life. I got my dad back, and I got my mom on my ass, and I got this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when our mom and I went off in that different direction from about 15 until I was early 20s. We didn't really get along
Mm-hmm.
that well.
Right.
Because that's when my dad was in my life, but the two of
Mm-hmm.
them were just weird back and forth. So here's the other
Right.
thing, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this openly on here. I look back now at the things that my dad did sober, and
Mm-hmm.
how, and I'll say how sober he was, the time he had at those moments, and it
Mm-hmm.
blows my mind, because I don't think he had his shit completely straight. He was sober for 29 years when he died.
Right.
But I don't think he was, I know he wasn't 100% happy. Flew off
Mm-hmm.
the fucking handle all the time. He
Mm-hmm.
was doing some shady shit with his businesses when he was um, 7, 8 years sober. Because that's what I worked for
Mm-hmm.
around that time. I was like 19, 18,
Right.
19 years old, doing
Right.
some shady shit. Again, not to get
Mm-hmm.
into any of it now, but um, he wasn't doing the next right thing all the time,
Right.
and in
Right. Right.
some
Right.
cases, openly doing the next the next wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why Kathy and I have talked about that a couple of times. That how cool would
Mm-hmm.
that have been if everything would have lined up? Woulda, coulda, shoulda haves. But I
Mm.
think that had I gotten sober while he was still alive, I think he would have glommed onto us, which would have been kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool, and I think it would
Mm-hmm.
have revitalized his whole outlook on stuff. I
Right.
just think he got
Right.
himself into this pattern. He wasn't drinking or anything like that. I don't think
Sure.
he was like a dry drunk. I just don't think he was. He was a grumpy motherfucker. Is kind of what he was in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
cases. So,
Mm-hmm. I
but
can relate to that.
yeah, but different than you, because again, I've been around
Right.
enough people for a month,
I know.
enough years that now I know the difference. Again, hindsight and
Right.
everything like that. But
Exactly. Well, it's again like everything else. It's how much work you put into it.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you can do this thing at 40%, and you'll get 40% of the results. I know that yeah, you do it 100%. There's no half measures. You can work it. We've seen it. I've seen it over and over again. People kind of work this thing. I mean, they work it and they do all the stuff, but they could do more. They could do it better. Don't do my best, don't do your best, do my best. Yeah, right. There are degrees. And yeah, we've seen it in lots and lots of people. That first job I had, I mean, the guy that owned that business was in the program. Uh, he had like 20 some years when I was working for him 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. Yeah, and he was doing some shady shit in there, and it wasn't, that place wasn't up to code. Uh, and I know he was doing. I mean, we're all getting paid under the table.
right.
I wasn't fucking paying taxes for that year and a half I was working there. I was getting checks, but there was no taxes taken out, and there was some shady shit going on, and I knew it, and I took advantage of that too. I'll take the full check. Thank you very much. Um,
Right. Right.
you know, yeah, I mean, there's degrees, man. I wouldn't do that shit today.
Right.
I don't have to do that shit today. At that point, I was, barely sober, and it was a shit job, and I needed every penny I could get, and yeah, I could have done better. I didn't. Oh well. Uh, I pay my taxes now.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I was just, I was curious about that, and it is I think it's important to talk about that. Yes, there are people in the program. Just because you're sober, just because you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous and all that good stuff, doesn't mean we're saints and we're angels and we're all doing the right thing for the right reasons all the time. Sometimes we're doing the right thing for the right reasons, and sometimes we're doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, and sometimes we're doing some wrong things for the right reasons. And again, progress, man. We're not perfect. None of us are.
Right.
That's why we're not supposed to put any of us on pedestals.
Right.
Yeah. I was curious. Actually, the reason I thought about it is I was probably okay. There's a guy I went to high school with, and we played music together a lot. He was my high school bass player. Then we kind of were in different bands for a while, and we're actually in the same band in Hollywood for a while. Um, and yeah, we were just around each other a lot. And I was a drunk. He was a junkie, and he ended up stealing some stuff from me at one point. Like a lot of stuff from me, and one of them being my first leather jacket, which still hurt
Right.
more than anything else. But he is now 23 years sober, I believe.
Oh wow.
And when we first he got he got sober like New Year's Eve 2000. Um, but when we reconnected several years ago, probably 10 years ago, I think probably through Facebook. Um, and he reached out to me, and he and this was shit, probably close to 25 years prior that he ripped me off. 20 anyway. He reached out to me and said, hey man, I stole from you, what do I need to do to make it right? And I just said, dude, just keep doing what you're doing, and I completely understand why you did it. You needed a
Right.
fucking fix, and my shit was sitting there. Um, yeah, so I understand it, and I said, just pass it on, man. Make a fucking donation to somebody, do something for somebody else. I don't need it. And yeah, but it was just I found it interesting that he had the opportunity. I was that person that popped up in his life 20 years later,
Right.
and he went, oh fuck, I owe this guy, and I said, nah, no you don't, because I understand. But yeah, and I don't know if he ever made that donation or did anything with what he was gonna give to me, and I don't care,
Right.
because it's not up to me. Yeah,
Well, and
he did the right thing, I did the right thing, and hopefully some right thing was done somewhere.
right. Well, I mean, you and I had talked about that too, because years ago, the dude in the 3/4 house with the coffee and stuff like that. Same
Right.
concept, It's just that
Yep.
I did, he took money from me and didn't buy this, and
Right.
the circumstance doesn't matter. And that's what I said. I'm like, no, you need to go donate that to the Keating Center. Now, if he didn't
Mm-hmm.
do that, that's his deal,
Right.
not mine.
Yep.
My hands are clean from that. They're washed. Not even I even suggested a good thing to be done. If he didn't do it, then
Mm-hmm.
fuck him. I
Right.
can't say fuck the Keating Center because I would have rather just walked up and given them the money, but that's not my
Mm-hmm.
responsibility.
Right.
But yeah, just and as we were talking about this, I'm sure my dad made some sort of efforts to do it. He talked a lot about his sobriety. He may have actually had conversations, and I just don't remember.
Sure.
So I know that he especially at that time, when he first got sober, he was
Mm-hmm.
knee fucking deep in all this stuff, and
Right.
around Jack and all all those different
Right.
influences. And I know he
Right.
was doing the right things, but
Mm-hmm.
I just don't remember it. But that's interesting though, that you end up with a guy like that popping up, which is it's kind of cool. I mean, to everyone wants to
Yeah.
be on the other end.
Right.
I mean, not that your shit was stolen, but be like, oh yeah, huh, I know what's going on here. I got it.
Yep.
I know what you're doing.
Yep. Yep. It was pretty cool.
But it's funny when you were talking about the we can go through this thing and do things at 40% to get the results and blah blah blah. It just made me think
Mm-hmm.
about it. So I was and I know we've talked about it, but I've been listening to Smartless, the podcast, which by the way, it's fucking great. I mean, if you haven't listened to it yet, or anyone out there,
I haven't. Right.
it's just super fun. I mean, there's it's Hollywood people, it's musicians, it's politicians sometimes. I mean, it's actors, it's the
Mm-hmm.
Mark Maron type of setup, with
Right.
that level of people. But they're a lot of fun. They're fun. But so I was listening to that, and especially with having all these guests and things like that, I don't really have to put a lot of work to putting together like a list or anything like that, because I know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to have a list of shit. So it's like in a lot of times in the weeks that you and I are going to be on, I'll listen to a couple of recovery podcasts, usually get some ideas pop into my head, write them down. But I
Mm-hmm.
started literally the last couple of weeks for the most part, 90% of the time, I'm listening to all recovery podcasts because I need that,
Right.
and that goes back to what I was talking about before, that little bit of that anxiousness and that humility and that sort of thing. And it didn't really click into my head about even the fact that I was doing it. But I knew I put them on because I needed to listen to them, but it didn't
Uh-huh.
just didn't click until now that it's kind of everything that we were talking about, that maybe I wasn't doing enough, or the what I was doing
Mhm.
wasn't enough based on this this extra load of shit that's on me right now. Not that it's bad, but you know what
Right.
I mean.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I again, I think unconsciously knew just to start listening to that so I can fucking hear stories. And I'm listening to one. The guy's name is Brad. It's the Sober Motivation Podcast. If anyone has not listened to it or haven't heard of it, listen to it. The dude's good. He's got good guests. 95% of them I listen to all the way through. Every once in a while, they'll get a rambler that I just can't handle, and I'll turn it off.
Right.
But it's him, and
Yeah.
it's no offense to him or the individual.
Right.
It's just certain
Yeah.
stories I can't fucking listen to people. Um,
Right.
but so I started listening to those again because and again, inadvertently, I just think I needed that shit again. Is that weird that I just didn't
Mhm.
even realize I was doing it?
Right. Yeah. No, it's not weird.
Yeah, weird in a good way. Weird in a good way.
Yeah. Right.
But so step 9, I think. I'm just trying to think of any. I don't think there was any other like key events or anything like that. Here's the good thing, and maybe this is a question just for that people might want to know,
Mm.
because I know it came into my brain when I was about to do them. Did you ever have anyone completely reject you, or I don't want to say spit in your face, but you know what I mean, verbally just give you the old "fuck you" and I'm not taking anything from you?
No, no, I can't think of anybody. No, I mean, yeah, I'm sure they're out there.
Oh,
I'm sure there's
Ah,
again, a lot of those people that I'm never going to come in contact with again. I'm sure there's a handful of them out there that would just be like, "Fuck you, you piece of shit.
right.
I don't ever want to have anything to do with you," and they don't. And if they're not in my life, and okay, that's I'll just let them whirl away. Um, yeah, no, but I haven't had anybody go, no, fuck you, I don't care. No, it's all been pretty, if nothing else, I think the worst would be just kind of like, okay, whatever, good for you.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, no, nothing in my face.
Yeah, and I didn't either. Which is I suppose when you think about it, that in and of itself is something to be grateful for. And
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the closest I got to that, yeah, whatever type of thing was that chick that I broke up with years ago, and
Right.
where she, I think it gave her an opportunity to say, yeah, you hurt me, I didn't get it, I don't understand it, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of keep doing what you're doing, have a great life. She wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't. And this was in messaging, so I couldn't. I felt the tone to it,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't take
Sure.
offense to it because I just
No.
fucking dropped it like a hot potato.
Right.
She didn't do anything wrong. It's just how fucked up in my
Right.
head. But we already talked about that
Mm-hmm.
part of it. But um, I think that might be the only one that was not really even I a minor brush off. But still, she didn't tell me to
Right.
go fuck myself. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she wished you well.
right,
Yeah. She had moved on and yeah, kind of really didn't care.
right.
You know, good for you. Yeah. Glad you're fixing yourself. Got nothing to do with me, man.
Right. Well, in
Right.
the thing of it is that I mean we're actually surprised when people are decent human beings because we weren't.
Right.
It's like, hey, that's wow, a decent human being, even though we fucked with them, can just kind of brush it off and be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, yeah, hey, have a great life,
Yeah.
thanks, bye.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Scrape us off their shoe and moved on. Good for them.
That's actually a wonderful way to put it. Scrape us off their shoe. I like that. But so anything else with the 9 step? I mean, I surprisingly enough, I don't think either to me at least, the 8th and
Mm-hmm.
9th step weren't really difficult. They were
Mm.
unnerving to have to go up and talk
Right.
to people like that, because
Sure.
you're being completely vulnerable. But other than that, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
did you think it was like they were super hard or just vulnerable?
Yeah, no, just well, yeah. Again, you're letting those defenses that you've built up all those years down, and that's it's a little tough, but yeah, not particularly difficult. No, just want to reiterate that it never ends, man.
Right.
That ninth step, I believe I told the story. Adam Apple,
Mhm.
was back and. I was kind of working with him for a while. This was, God, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And I picked him up to take him to my home group. And the whole way in the car, he's going on. I mean, he's at this point, I don't know, 3 weeks sober again. And and just running his fucking mouth because you know him, he ran his fucking mouth all the time. And he's just running. He's going, I got to finish my ninth step. I'm going to finish my ninth step. I got to get this done because I got to move along. I got to get this shit done. And I'm just letting him go. I'm just, okay, man. I'm rolling my eyes. I'm driving. It's, a 15-minute drive to the meeting. And we get in, and he's going and going. And so we get out of the car. We're walking in, and Don Fox is sitting there at the table. And Don is old, and Don has been around. He's got like 45. He's pushing 50 years sober. And we just walked in, and the only thing I said, we walked in, I go, hey, Don, when did you finish your ninth step? No context, no nothing. We just walked into the meeting. I hadn't seen Don in a week. Walked in, the only words I said, hey, Don, when did you finish your ninth step? And Don didn't miss a beat, didn't even look up. He said, I'm still working on it. And I turned to Adam, I looked at him, I said, see? And I walked away from him too. So yeah, that's, again, guys pushing 50 years sober, still working on it.
Right. And
so there's your ninth step advice.
And that's the thing.
It never ends.
And Adam's been around. He's been around this thing for a long time. Not sober, for consecutive time or amounts of time, but he should know better. I mean, when I give myself a little bit of grace, I guess, if you want to call it, because I didn't understand the 6th and 7th step, but but still, you take a guy that's been around this thing so long that cracks me up. But yeah, you're right.
He's going to go and he's going to clean up all his shit and he's going to say he's sorry to everybody and get it all done.
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah. And then, across the street when somebody, he runs across somebody that he should actually, do a 9 step with. So, yeah.
Right.
Probably. So what you're saying is it never ends.
It never ends.
It never ends.
Right. Exactly.
We've
said it over and over on this podcast. 4, 5, and 8 we do once to the best of our ability, and we never have to do them again. The rest of the steps we have to work every day, one day at a time for the rest of our lives.
Right.
The rest of the steps.
Yeah. Yep. And the main thing that, and I hope everyone kind of gets this from the way we talk about these steps, is that, again, sometimes easy is the wrong word to use, but part of our lives maybe is a better way to put it. All of these steps become ingrained, and they have become ingrained over the years, where we don't have to think about it. And that's why I had asked Mike about that, do you get up in the morning and think, I got to be a good, got to do this, got to do that, I got to be good to somebody, because these things become a part of. So when we say it never ends, that's not a big deal. It's not a big chore. You just have to be aware, and realize that, okay, I just got to, there's a hole in the hose. I got to patch it. That's it.
Yeah.
You just got to fix the hole. That's all you got to do.
Right. Well, again, I'm not the most wonderful human being in the world. I'm really not.
Wait, what? Hang on.
Yes.
Hang on.
Yeah, grab that pencil. Write that down.
Mike said.
Right.
I've known you too long. I just man. That just clears up so much. Wow, that just makes everything so much more clear.
That's just it. Liar, cheat, and a thief, a taker. It's what I am. That's what I was. It's what I was for my entire life. Long before I picked up a drink, I was a liar, cheat, and a thief. That's who I am. I need to work this stuff so I'm not that person, so I don't act like that person. That deep down inside me is still there. You know, it is never going to go away. All I can do, it's like the disease. All I can do is treat it. And the only way to treat it is through action, acting like a better person. And slowly I become a better person because that's the way I act most of the time.
That's like that's the qualifier. That's the asterisk that you have to look at
Well,
the end of the contract and say, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
Mike said he's not a good human." Oh, there, that's what that means. Okay, I got it. I got it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the
Yep.
clause that we didn't read. Terms and
Mm-hmm.
conditions that nobody ever reads.
Selfish, self-centered asshole.
Right, but I mean, like you said, it just all easy. I keep saying easy is the wrong word, but maybe it's not. You know what?
Simple.
Simple. Yeah, simple program for
Simple.
complicated people. You know,
Yep.
and I love that because it's just so true.
Mm-hmm.
So true. All right, so I think we've beaten the 9-step horse
We
to
have.
death. To death.
Yep. Right. Well, you know, except we'll have to get up tomorrow and continue to work it.
Oh, that's right. Fuck. We got to talk about this again next week too.
Well, no, that we don't have to do. We have to wake up tomorrow when we're not doing a podcast
Right.
and live it.
Right. But so just two quick things before we wrap up. In with the wrap, oh, yeah, I said wrap up. I've got season 3 wrap up. Anything? I mean, because we are, and just so everyone knows. I mean, again, just as a reminder. So every 6 months, we just decided to chop this into a new season, and I say that truly, quote unquote, because the seasons to us don't fucking matter. I've made. I made changes to some of our posts, like 3 episodes before the end of season 3 and whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's just easier to chop up the episodes.
And it makes us sound important.
Right.
Everyone else makes it sound like we know what the fuck we're doing.
Well, literally the conversation we had when we did it the first time, I think you and I were talking, I'm just like, everyone else seems to be splitting these up after a certain number of episodes. And I'm sure you probably asked after how many. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Let's just make it logical. Let's do it after 6 months. So what, 26 episodes? Let's just do it there. We didn't know, but we did it because it seemed like that's what everyone else was doing.
Right. Well, kind of like this AA thing.
Right.
It seems like this is what these people are doing. We should probably do it too.
It's a different path. It's the podcast path. But so, last week's episode was, again, technically the first episode of this new season, so we really had a chance to talk about it. And I know that the main thing that we usually do is that I don't have to go through all the episodes we did because they were there and anyone go fucking listen to them. But for you, anything in the last 6 months that like really stands out as far as in your head? Again, we've talked about the people and the listeners and the feedback. Anything that kind of jumps out? Anything different over the last 6 months that again you want to, I don't know, point out, talk about? Anything?
I don't know what the fuck happened in the last 6 minutes.
I know, and because I was even, this is how much time blends for me. I thought about this the other 2 days ago is when I put the note on here, and I'm like, oh fuck! I said we got some big shit. I said our mom died, during this season of episodes. I'm like, no, it didn't. That was the last season.
No, 6 months ago was March.
I know.
So, right.
That's my point. Remember, and I always say this, and hopefully somebody's heard me say this before. I know you have. Everything in my life basically happened 6 or 8 months ago. That's it. In my timeline, in my head, is 6 or 8 months ago. Even though our mom will literally be dead a year, it's been 10 months already.
Right.
Literally 10 months.
Right.
And I'm looking back going, oh, that was like 4 months ago, wasn't it?
Right.
I know better, but so no, I just didn't know if anything kind of popped up with whether it's our expectations or how things are, anything. I don't know. It was a nonsensical type of question, but yeah, I know. I know.
I don't know. I expect we'll probably do this again next week.
Right. Well, and the only thing that I can say is that, and again, I'm not gonna read off or even try to look up all the episodes. I think we've been the one thing that I just thought about right now as we were talking about this is that we've had some really, really good guests, and we've been averaging like, in a minimum of 2, if not 3, a month,
Right.
at
A
least for the
month.
last
Yeah.
3 months, maybe even 4.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there, I
Yeah.
mean, everyone we've ever had on has been a quality guest, but it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
amazing. We've got, again, 3 more weeks of guests, and then, nobody else scheduled. Well, Heidi might be scheduled. We got to get we got to get Michael on here at some point. That should happen soon
Right.
because he said after softball, right?
Right.
So, but that's the whole thing. Is it's just kind of cool. Expectations I think are about the same as they've been. I think both of us got to this point where I kind of leveled out a little bit, and you leveled up. And
Yeah.
only to the only to the point where it's like, okay, we both now realize that, like you said, I think we're going to do this next week. Expectations,
Right.
haha.
Yep. Yep.
But people are listening. People seem to enjoy what we're doing. We get great
Mm-hmm.
interactions. We get some, again, not a huge following group, but they're engaged and they're loyal. What
Yeah.
more could we ask for? Not a goddamn thing.
Not a damn thing. Well, that extra couple of bucks to round it up to 60.
Right. Right. But yeah, if anyone wants to advertise, that'll be separate. The ad money that we're getting from there comes from Anchor. That's for the pre-read ad that I do for Anchor at the
Right.
beginning of each
Mm-hmm.
episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, seriously, if anyone wants to come, give us a shot, and we'll do and email us. Look at our email
Yeah.
address in there, and we can talk about it. But we can do even a 30 to 60 second read or recorded thing
Yeah.
or whatever. Just give it a shot. We won't charge you for it either.
Yeah.
So
We might not even say fuck.
yes. Oh yeah. You can tell us. Do you want us to swear? And if so, how many times or
Mm-hmm.
not at all?
Right. We are open to suggestions.
Fuck is free. F words are free.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing is, and I just wanted you to, every time we come up to a holiday, I think you explain it correctly. We've got a holiday weekend, which again, just
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of doesn't seem like much of anything to me or you probably, but
Mm-hmm.
our typical advice to anyone who's possibly newly sober or might struggle through a holiday weekend with drinking or not drinking. Go.
Right. Go.
Go.
Go. Well, like everything else, don't do it by yourself. You do not have this. I don't have this. I'll be spending the weekend with my girlfriend. I will not be alone. Yeah, don't do it by yourself. If you're going to some sort of function where there's going to be drinking or drugs or whatever, because Uncle Johnny likes to go into the bathroom and do a couple toots, and you used to go in there with him.
You're talking about cocaine, right? Not that he's actually going in there and going in somebody's tutor.
Well, he could be doing that too. You might have gone and done that with him as well. I wouldn't suggest you do that either. Stay out of those relationships and holes for the first year. But seriously,
I'm just gonna
have a
I'm
plan.
gonna mute.
Don't do it by yourself. Yeah, shut the fuck up. I'm talking here. Yes, have a plan, have an escape plan, have a way to let yourself out. There's meetings. Most, if you're in any sort of populated area, there's generally clubs and they're doing alcothons. So there's meetings going on all the time. Find those things, have a plan is basically the easiest way to put it. Have a plan, have an escape plan, have a plan to deal with these people or don't. It's just another day on the calendar. Lock yourself in your goddamn house, pick up the phone, call somebody in the program, talk to them for a few, go to a meeting, do the stuff you were taught to do on Wednesday in November. Do it on the holiday weekend too. Again, if you need to go and you're going to be someplace where, if there's stuff going on, take somebody with you. Have a partner, have a sober partner. And again, don't put expectations on it. It used to be, we have this big blowout and it used to be this great. Well, guess what? It's not that anymore. It's better now. You don't need that shit anymore. Move along, and Labor Day. Our buddy Dan, who we've talked about tons of times, his roommate Tommy called me up this week, and he had asked me right after Dan passed if there was anything that I wanted. And I said, well, I'd love, one of his Zippos. He had several. Zippo. Yeah, right. I thought it was kind of appropriate, and Tommy said, yeah, absolutely, man. I'll put one aside for you and whatever. I ended up getting 3. And one of them with Chief Wahoo on it, which is really cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I went over to the house. It's being cleaned out. Tommy's moving in with his sister. Shit's changing. But anyway, Tommy was working and wasn't there. He left the back door open, and I went in, and it was just weird. But Labor Day was the first time John was still alive. Pat was, at the time, that was early in sobriety for us. It was P-Dubs and Henrock and Dan were living in that house at the time.
Right.
And they invited me over. I was working with John at the metal shop, the aforementioned shitty job that some screwy stuff was going on. But I was working with John there at the shop, and they invited me over for Labor Day. They're having a cookout, and, hey, come on by, stop by, have some food. And that was my first sober interaction, regular, normal, come by and have some food. We're celebrating sober. And I did. And it was very cool. It was the first on my own going to a place outside and having a barbecue and hanging out and doing that kind of holiday thing with a bunch of sober guys.
Right.
And it was really cool. Yeah. So yeah, that I just had those memories this week and going to the house and stuff. And yeah, I miss all those guys. But P-Dubs is leading for me on Sunday.
Oh,
so,
no shit.
Get to hang out with him.
That's cool.
Yeah. Right.
Well, yeah, you know what? And I completely forgot that he had lived in that house, but
yeah,
because we went over there. I wasn't there for that first one, but over the years that I was in Cleveland,
sure,
we got invited over there. When's the air show? We used to go over there for the air show.
Labor Day.
Okay, so yeah, we did a couple of times.
Yeah.
We were over there for the. Yeah, it must have been Labor Day stuff, but
yeah, I saw the planes flying around Cleveland today.
Yeah, it was just it was nice. I mean, they had that every year, and it was just a cool thing. Yeah, like you said, just getting together and doing something like that with sober guys. It was it's weird to begin with, but it was great memories though.
But, absolutely.
But yeah, so when you were telling me to shut the fuck up that you were talking, I was laughing too hard. That's why all I said was I'm going to mute. I was laughing. I didn't want to interrupt because you were talking about like relatively important shit. That's why I said I'm going to mute. And I was like fucking tears out of my eyes after talking about polls and keep your thing out of whatever's.
Yeah, so, Uncle Johnny.
Yep. So yeah, I was trying to give you your space and be polite for once, but and then you told me to shut the fuck up, which I did. I literally did. I electronically shut the fuck up.
Nice.
So that was the last like 2 things I wanted to, and you always explain the holiday stuff. When first time we ever talked about it, you did in my opinion, I think you did a great job at it. So I just I enjoy it, and I think it lands well on people. So I wanted you to do that.
Once again, just parroting shit that was told to me.
I know, but you every once in a while, man, you parrot certain shit well. So I'm trying to prop your ass up just a little bit, to say you
knock it off.
You do okay at that. You're not pissing people off when you do it. How's that?
All right. Damn, I got to try harder.
Oh, that's okay. You get your chance now to piss people off. So I think we're done, right? I think we're done.
I think we are.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So your turn.
Cool.
Go fucking piss a couple of people off now. Let's roll.
All right. Now it's time for me to shine. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other. Go out there and do something nice for somebody else, and don't tell anybody about it. And now it is time. It is time, kids. It is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over the gate. Dream the impossible dream and keep fucking off forever.
Got a little bit, a little bit like old time TV-ish again with that out forever.
That was the radio gig last week, man. It's still floating around in my system somewhere.
Yeah. So and seriously, Ed, I know I texted you about it, but just real quick on that, I fucking enjoyed all the music out there this time, and that's why I said it
Cool.
jokingly. I'm like, either
Yeah.
you're playing better music or my tastes are getting better, one of the two. But there was the
Your tastes are getting better.
well, and the thing of it is, it's just I've listened to it before, and maybe it's just that I've heard more of those songs now over the years that I recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the or some of the artists,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that I recognize it, because I don't think I heard a lot of those artists that you, some of that this core music that you listen to. But
Right.
the again, the Queen song, that little remix thing, when that
Oh,
came
yeah.
on, I'm looking. I looked at my phone. I'm like, did this thing jump? I thought the station jumped because I'm like, there's no fucking way he's playing Queen. Then I start hearing this mix, and I'm like, okay, this is something's got to be fucked up here. But so I you know what the thing of it is, I know the record, I
Right.
probably heard it before, but right over my head. And then the what's the Alice Cooper song you played right after that?
Halo
There you go.
Flies.
Both of those songs, and again, I've heard that song before, but I saved both of
Mm.
them on my Spotify list, so it's in my library of songs now. Both of those are, but
Cool.
yeah, Thunder Kiss. I haven't heard that fucking song in years. I love that song.
that was a request from
Yeah,
Chris.
and I think you might have played that before, but that's probably the last time that I heard it. But seriously, I love that song. I love it.
Yep.
But yeah, so no, that was a lot of fun. But all right.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I think we're done. And next week,
Yep.
yes, we have a guest next week. But fuck it, we'll talk soon. That's all. That's all I got. So you know what?
We
Love you,
will.
brother.
Love you too, man.
Bye.
Bye.
As always, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. To access all of our content and interact with us, please visit our website, SoberNotMature.com. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.